Greetings. This is Barbara E. Ringrose. I'm the founder of Wow Women Optimizing Women. You can view me at wowwomenus.com and also the co-creator of this YouTube channel at Optimize Her Too with LaQuincia Nichols of experience-coaching.com, who's also the founder of her business. And what we do here at Optimize Her Too is we bring a variety of topics to you. We talk about different subjects, things that are relevant, and it's an authentic conversation, something that our guests and Quincy and I have become very experienced at doing because we want you to come back here. When you go to visit us at the YouTube channel at Optimize Her Too, please like, share, and subscribe. We so appreciate that. And today we have a special guest, Melinda Alcosser, who has a very interesting conversation that I think you're going to really appreciate because, and I know my husband will, because it involves travel and pickleball. What a strange combination. And what if travel wasn't just about where you go, but who you become while you're there? That's an interesting topic. And with LaQuincia Nichols here, we call her Quincy or Q. And Melinda, I am like over myself, beside myself about this topic. I can't wait to see what this unfolds. Welcome, ladies.
Hey, everyone. Guys, I'm really excited for today's episode because I think Melinda's going to bring some excitement to our conversation as we think about, what do experiences look like for us in 2026? What are we wanting from growth, from connection? So our guest today, Melinda Alcosser, is a transformational experience builder and travel advisor who leads with heart. She creates personalized travel experiences that go beyond destinations, helping women reconnect with curiosity, joy, and a deeper sense of purpose. And she even brings something a little unexpected. Barb talked about that pickleball. Well, Melinda specializes in doing it with the heart as a way to build connection, energy, and transformation. Today, we're talking about travel as a practice for personal growth, what it means to live and lead with heart, and how experiences, big or small, can reconnect us to who we truly are. Melinda, welcome to the Optimize Her Too podcast. We are so excited to have you today.
Thank you. Thank you so much to both of you. And it is an honor to be here. And
Thank
I
you.
am excited to share.
Can't wait. I can't wait to see
wait.
what you have to say here, Melinda.
I
I
think we're
can't
really
wait either. Let's see.
And it's really great too, because I am out here just sort of outside Scottsdale, Arizona, and we have a huge pickleball community.
Yes, you do.
And I think it's just one of those things that are really great. So I'm excited for what we can learn. But before we get started, I always think it's really great to sort of anchor our audience on who you are and also sort of what you do. So Melinda, if you could, when you described your work with heart, which is very beautiful and unique, what led you to become a transformational experience builder? Tell us about that.
Well, I'll give you a little background. I've been an educator for most of my working life, and I started a small program called the Connecticut Experiential Learning Center and worked with small groups of students, bringing them out into the world as part of their education. And I've also been a traveler, fortunate enough to have parents that wanted to bring myself and my brother to see the world, not just as tourists as much as possible, but to really learn by being as much as possible immersed in whatever culture and places that we were. So from a young age, I think I was injected with the travel passion and discovered that it really, by being in new places, we tap into new parts of ourselves. By having new experiences, we tap into new parts of ourselves. Each day we take in information through our senses, and sometimes those things just become kind of familiar. Wake up, wash, rinse, and repeat,
Yeah.
So travel as a practice not only allows us to have a sense of curiosity, right? And even in our day-to-day lives, we are new people every day. I used to teach science, so I know our cells are actually regenerating. We literally are physically new people every 7 years. Brand new cells are our entire body. So like children, everything is new. Everything is, you can look at something, feel something, hear something, and just get excited, find that joy.
Was there a moment when you realized that travel could just be more than a trip? I know you talk about your
Yes.
parents sort of bringing you along in the sort of early life, and I'm always inspired by the parents who I see, hustling and bustling through the airport with their small children, and the children are locked and loaded. I know someone who I think his kids have more passport stamps than mine ever will. They've been
Mm.
traveling since they were really young. But for you, was there a moment that you can pinpoint back to where you're like, what, this could actually transform and change someone's life?
I'll tell you, I was pretty young. I was in Haiti at about 5 or 6 years old, and I was sitting on my dad's lap as we were driving in a car back to Port-au-Prince from some beach we went to that was 2 hours away. And I was sitting on his lap, and he kept saying, "Malin, look out there. Look at those houses. Look what the people are doing, washing clothes in a river.
Yeah.
Look, look,
Different world.
look. What do you think? What are their lives like?" And just like directly sort of asking me to open my eyes, open to noticing. And then meeting people as kids and playing with people. Let's say I'm gonna just continue on with Haiti because that was really an profound experience for me as a young child, and we would interact with people. My parents had very, very dear friends who were Haitian, a family that lived there, which is part of the reason we went. They went on their honeymoon in Haiti, and so there's a whole bunch of stories. But we met people. We saw that there were other ways to live, other perspectives,
I'm sure.
other skin colors, all sorts of, ways. And I think from a young age, it just became like just fascinating to me and really gave me like it still gives me this thrill of, experiencing something that is somewhat in the unknown, and I think it leads to the idea that we as humans are on this planet. There is so much more that we have in common, and to recognize that. And so I actually took that into my major in college. I was a student at Antioch College in Yellow Springs, which is kind of one of those radical kind of places, that thinkers go and all sorts of people. Coretta Scott King was a student there, and Leonard Nimoy, and just
Mhm.
a whole range of people. But I just self-designed a major called Movement, Rhythm, and Culture. And I was fascinated at that point about how humans all over the world have language, art, music, culture, clothing. And yet, even though we have all of those ways of expressing, there are so many different forms of that.
Making us
And
all so different. And here
yeah.
at Optimize Her too, and also with Quincy in experience coaching and myself with wow, it's all about educating and elevating and empowering women. But you found that as a 5-year old an
Hmm.
education, and then you took that through your life. I
Hmm.
hear education, and you talk about the body. We're talking about cellular structure
Yeah.
here, and what an experience. Every 7 years, the body's resetting. I believe in the
Hmm.
7-year itch,
Hmm.
and it pertains to everything, including our bodies changing. And where did you find the fit then for the travel piece with
Hmm.
the education piece?
Well, the Connecticut Experiential Learning Center, the program that I founded, which came out of another school, et cetera, was really about experiences. We learn by experience. That is what John Dewey knew, and that's what all sorts of educational leaders know. And, you know, sh- that idea means that when you're given a situation, how do you kind of figure it out? We tend to get into habits and patterns in our lives. We
I can
always have
appreciate
choice
that.
at
I'm
every
very
moment,
routine
right?
oriented. I can appreciate
Right.
that.
And you know what? And that's great. And I appreciate that as well. I'm an Aquarian. I'm like a triple Aquarian. So, you
Mm.
know, I have lots of ideas and all of this kind of thing. But I do feel there's sort of safety in routine. It's a nice thing to consider. However, every m- the idea of now, right? Here we are, right now. And whoever's listening to this or watching this, you're where you are right now, and that'll be in the quote unquote future. But wherever that is, it's still right here, right now. And I think what travel allows us to do is slow down and experience the now more fully. Why does that happen? I don't know. In our daily lives, we probably take a lot for granted. We
Yeah.
take ourselves for
Good
granted.
point.
We take one
Very good
another
point.
for granted, you know? And so that's one of the types of things that I mean when I say travel as a practice.
So you have this mindset here, like for me, it's that routine every day and so forth. I'm very structured doing things on the weekend. It changes. I let my hair down a little bit, so to speak. But then you go into this travel mindset you were just talking about. What does that mean? And how can women, we're talking especially to women, 63% of our audience is female. And even in their everyday, what does that look like when they change their travel mindset? And why is it so important to embrace it?
So let's say you have a routine and you know it.
Yes,
Let's
I do.
say you change the timing a little bit and slow down. Maybe your routine is drinking a cup of tea in the morning. What about how well you taste that tea? What about really feeling it going into your mouth, swallowing, breathing? And even if you're in the same room that you're always in, opening your eyes as if you're seeing something for the first time. It's a little hard to do and it's kind of manufactured. Wiggle your toes. Use a different hand to brush your teeth. Any of that stuff actually helps the brain because it triggers a new pattern.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea of kind of being present is that if you sort of believe the whole idea of what presence can do is that, every moment is a gift. There's so much to be, say, grateful for. We're
Oh, yeah.
breathing, we're here. And I think there's a practice of kind of just, and I'm going to say it again, sort of the slowing downness of it. We tend to, just be on a pace and there's more to notice. There's more things that might come your way that you might have missed had you just sort of been routine enough that you're going through the motions, let's say.
Yeah. I really love that, Melinda, too, because I think about, I think one common interest that Barb and I have is our love for the islands. Barb loves
Mm,
to go to Aruba. I love Aruba as well. I got married in Costa Rica. I am someone, give me any Caribbean island before you send me to Europe, right? I love the idea of island time, right? Where things just kind of slow down and I don't need to look at my watch. I'm not so focused on my phone. I can be in the moment with people who I'm meeting, just talking about things that matter and don't matter all at the same time, right? But these are like the conversation is so magnetic because we're both excited for this moment right now to share that space with each other. And so when I think about, travel as truly as a practice and being intentional and really creating an opportunity for you to appreciate the routine of your life, right? But also, if you're unable to travel, having little practices that can bring you back to some of those moments, right? Maybe thinking about, I don't have to be so rigid about
mm,
my routine, right? So being able to be flexible in
mm,
our routine, I think is a way for us just to add a little bit more intention around being present in the moment and but also giving some space to experiencing things differently.
mhm,
And when you share the story about, your dad saying, "Hey, open your eyes, be aware of what's happening around you." And it's not about, good or better or worse. It's just a different lifestyle that you're
mhm,
exposed to. And I think for me, once I was of age to be able to travel outside of, the places where my parents want to go, where I could really go and experience culture and try to become as local as you can as a tourist, really priding myself as safely as I can, going off the beaten path and, not allowing for sort of what I've learned in America about other places to inform my
mhm,
ideology too much and really looking to build connections is one of
mhm.
the key things I love about travel. I mean, that's probably now why I have my WhatsApp still because I'm still connected with some people who I probably would have never met if I didn't take the risk, but
Mhm.
also the willingness to explore differently.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. With that, I mean, it's true. So the idea of the travel mindset doesn't mean you have to get on a plane, doesn't mean you have to, go anywhere but right where you are. However, being in a place where you're exposed to new smells or sights or sounds, people go out and have a nice dinner out. And even that, is some of it probably to awaken some of those senses in a different way. But the other thing that happens, and this is probably the with heart element,
Hmm.
especially nowadays, with the world being in one state closer together, but in another state very divided. And what we hear on the news often doesn't match what really is the truth for the women in the world, the mothers, the daughters, the families, the fathers, the brothers that are experiencing just wanting a life where they can feel safe and loved. And that I do believe happens throughout planet Earth. And when I was just in Nicaragua, for example, in February, and I was on a service trip actually in Maragopa, and we helped to paint a school. I worked with students there, and it was a humanitarian expedition with an organization called Rio de Sol that touches the lives of thousands of families that have very, very little. We were so warmly welcomed. I mean, when we arrived first day at the school, the whole community was out cheering with
Mm.
music and sharing some of their culture. They had special foods, they had dressed and dances and things they wanted to show what they were proud of. And I think, you know, many people are afraid, if you think some people are afraid to say, I wouldn't go to Nicaragua right now. And, getting there and going on the plane, and there's a whole element. But the truth is, when one is there, I mean, friendships are made,
Yes.
connections are made. And so those are pretty profound things. And so that's what my travel with heart is about. It's about enabling certain experiences that can create ways for people to find their commonality, find their common ground, create friendships and have these connections so that when things occur, there's some empathy, there's some compassion, there's some sense of that we're sort of in this together and that we can be. And I'm involved in a program now called the Walking Mentorship. And it's really combining walking and nature and mentorship. And
Mm.
it's about three pillars are slowing down, gaining perspective, and then taking action. And recently I walked with a woman who's in my cohort who's in Ukraine. And we've walked twice now, just on my phone, she on her phone, and we shared time together. I was in the woods. It was 6:30 in the morning in Guilford, Connecticut, and she was in Ukraine, I'm not sure where. And I had an expectation of what I would see in her world, but it was this different, and it was a bright blue sky, sunny day, and smiling, and speaks English. So, and we've created this friendship, and I really look forward to my walk with her possibly this week. And I'm starting something, and
Hmm.
it's called the Worldwide Walking Club. And
Ooh,
I'm
I like
putting
that.
together a network, and I think women will probably take to this, of where women can walk together. So just to become connected, just to share that time in a way. And really, truly, walking also is something we've been doing as humans for as long as we've been here. So
Absolutely.
there's a
I think
whole
I'd like to
science
try
to
that,
yeah,
Melinda.
Yeah.
okay. Well,
I
good.
would.
Love my sign me up.
Yeah, I have
Excellent.
a
I will.
friend.
I will. Yeah.
I have a
Yeah.
friend in Aruba,
There you
and
go.
there is a Hooiberg
Mhm.
is this huge. People call it a mountain. It's this huge hill. It's like 600 steps going up, but it's quite steep. And
Mhm.
she likes to set challenge. She doesn't even go to the gym anymore because Hooiberg now is her challenge. Mine is this roller coaster in the hills in rural Carroll County. And wouldn't that be cool for the two of us to walk together? Her going up Hooiberg, me the rural road. So we can see how much heart you put into it. And you've got a lot of thought into it, basically in everything you do. And you live and lead it. You live and lead it with your heart. And I applaud you for that and for
Thank you.
taking the time to slow down because that I think is a issue that we all could
It
probably
is. It is.
practice.
A very
and
important one, and I will say that
better.
since we're talking about pickleball, I'll throw that in there. So, it's a sport that has an interesting beginning that actually connects to my husband's family, although his story isn't out in the world. But the story that we know is 1965. It began on Bainbridge Island, and Senator Joel Pritchard, his kids were bored one day, and they took it to their tennis court and created the game we now know as pickleball.
Neat.
Funny
Hmm.
background to that, though, is that my husband, who grew up in Washington State, had an aunt that hosted political fundraisers. And this was pre 1965.
Okay.
And they had a badminton net and sawed off tennis rackets and wiffle balls. And they played this game, and everyone got pickled. They drank quite a bit. And they called
I'm
it pickle pong.
I'm
And
sure they did. And where
yeah,
was this
and
that it
it's written
started? I'm
about.
sorry.
And so the story of the founding of the game we know today was on Bainbridge Island in Washington State.
Wow.
My husband's family, who kind of gave the inception of the game, believe it or not, was on Whidbey Island, about 25 miles north. So he wrote a book called The Curious History of Pickleball from its origins as pickle pong, which I'm
Mm.
just telling you as an aside, but I've started playing the game in about
I think it's
2012.
great throwing a little history and how
Put
things
a little
got,
history in there.
Absolutely.
and
And when I started
we
playing the
use
game, it
terms. Yep.
it wasn't as crazy popular as it is now, but as I began this journey as a sort of a travel advisor and getting into sharing experiences in that way, I began doing group pickleball trips because I really feel that travel is about making these connections and building these communities.
Yeah.
I combined that with the pickleball. So it's sort of a pickleball with heart experience. And every destination I bring my group trips to, I connect with a local organization. I was just in Antigua, and I have a sisterhood of pickleball. So it's women's trips.
Mm-hmm.
And we worked with the Victory Center, which is a school for autistic and Down syndrome students.
Mm.
And each time the participants would bring something that the organization might want, and we, make a donation. But I call it a giving exchange because everyone really benefits. And I partnered with a school in Dominican Republic and the Women in Sports of Turks and Caicos. And every time the participants that do participate in these, what I call with heart experiences, they say that's the highlight of the trip. There's pickleball coaching, and there's a lot of fun and laughter. But that experience of, not just staying in a resort, but taking that extra step to make that connection, that stays in one's heart.
Yeah. I do think
I
that is something
agree.
that you carry forth with you. And I can tell you from some of the circles and the conversations that I have, because I'm around a lot of women who love to travel, but are
Hmm.
always looking for what is the opportunity for me to do something, to your point, maybe beyond the resort, right? Maybe beyond the great dinners and dancing and, cocktails and things of that nature. Like, how can I truly have some positive impact on the community need
Right.
beyond, the resort and what they're receiving from me. So I really do think what you're doing is special. And there is an absolute for the community, the impact, and also having some fun while you're doing it. So I think you are definitely solving a lot of needs out there.
Thank you.
You're
And pickleball really happens in so many parts of the world. So I have some plans for Ecuador and South Africa. And I'm actually doing a fundraiser for a group in Uganda called the
welcome.
Dream Team Pickleball Academy, which is they're working with underserved youth through the game of pickleball. And I'm raising some money to try to build a well. I work with an organization called Call to Care Uganda, and creating a well literally saves lives. I mean, it
Yes.
ends disease. It ways of
Absolutely.
people, especially girls, going to school. And so that's one of the other things that I'm, supporting and looking to do trips that not are only focus on pickleball, but could have that element as a community builder.
Hmm.
But also as you say, yeah.
It's a transformational experience what you're
Yeah.
doing,
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
because a lot of people, like you said, when they travel, they stay at the resort,
Mhm.
the ones that are all inclusive, they have all the
mhm,
food, the drink, they never leave the beach. They have no idea what's happening behind the scenes, what the people are like. They don't integrate with the people very much. They don't even integrate with the people in their neighborhoods. So the interesting thing is women then reconnect to their fullest potential. They're
mhm.
able to then have these wonderful, amazing experiences. You're combining interaction, your a charitable piece to it as well, where you are giving of self to community. And of course, they, like you said, when you arrive, the community embraces you. They greatly appreciate that. So these women are then understanding parts about themselves that they didn't even know existed.
Yeah, and you said before, I think Q had said, the idea of intention. And that's
Hmm.
where it goes sort of at the next level, because I'm putting together some more sort of retreat style things where women can really set an intention before travel and to then work as a travel coach or, a mentor to really help bring that out. What is important to you right now? What is it that you're wondering or thinking? What is a focus question? Why are you traveling? And the Transformational Travel Council, which is an amazing organization, and that's where I've gotten a certification in transformational experience design. But the Transformational Travel Council talks about how do you want to be rather than what you want to do, and there's a lot to it. The movement now, travel. Not even I don't want to call it a movement, but the shift in terms of the mindset of travel, because we need to be more conscientious as well about the planet, is sort of thinking in terms of a regenerative mindset. You know, when you go somewhere, it's not just what can I take, what can I do, but what is my impact?
Right.
And what will I do to benefit where I will be? Because there are people that live there, and how will I interact with that? And, will I learn the language a little bit? Will I, something? And there's a book, I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's called The Transformation Economy. And it's by Joe Pine, who wrote a book called The Experience Economy. And he's just published this new one because we are now moving from what's called the experience economy, where experiences were more important than services. If you go to a Starbucks, let's say, it's not just
Right.
about going to grab a coffee, it's
Right.
Right. It's the whole
more
thing.
than that.
Yeah.
But now we're moving into what's called the transformation economy, according to Joe Pine and according to others, that it's, what is it that I am looking to do, to change, to be and become?
It's a lot of reflection. It's a
Yeah.
lot of self, and I just was speaking to someone yesterday who was experiencing some medical complications, that just to sit and breathe and get calm
Oh,
and
yeah.
have a warming pad around her shoulders that embraced her while I massaged her neck
Mm.
and just I talked to her about music and having something low so that she could be in the moment, because she's been doing just that, running around so much she hasn't even been able to think about self. And we tend, as women, we talk about this, Quincy and I, with different ladies that we have on Optimize Her too, that we have so many different things. It's like we're 360. We're thinking of so many things with both sides of our hemispheres of our brain. And then we never even interact with self. We're so busy
Yeah.
interacting with everyone else.
Yeah. And, and that's, again, it doesn't have to be pickleball, but the idea of play, the
Mhm.
Right.
idea of, and
Good
I
point.
do think it's like an adult playground, like an adult play date, but there is also the idea of presence in pickleball. And I'm writing a book about this, I think, because, and it may be with any sport or there's lots of things, music, there's other ways of capturing it, but you and the ball, you can let go of your thoughts. You can just sort of be, but it does invite the spirit of play. So I think for all of us, find ways to invite the spirit of play. Turn on the music loud and dance,
Oh,
Mhm.
do something.
definitely. Right up
And if,
my alley.
you know,
I can
and
throw a little bit of something, something to sip on while
because
I'm
that
doing it.
little girl was,
And that could
Yeah.
even be coffee or a
It
soda or
could
whatever, not
be. Yeah.
necessarily a alcoholic beverage
yeah.
or an
And you know
adult
what? It
beverage.
feels so much better after. It's like, so that's maybe
Yeah,
where Barbara
liberating.
is sort of breaking the pattern a little bit. It's like the
Mhm.
routines
Yes.
are nice, but yeah, we're here and it relatively for a short time, so stopping, looking, feeling, being,
So you've
and
talked a lot about this travel, and for someone
yeah.
right now, there are people for whatever reason, like my friend who's not feeling well right now, or for other people who maybe they're in that family raising situation. Quincy talked about how they have one strapped here and one here, and some people aren't necessarily willing to travel with the children at that particular time while they're raising their children. So right
Mhm.
now, for whatever reason it happens to be, they can't travel. What is something significant? We always say one thing, one baby step. Somebody could take today so they could start changing that mindset. And I think you kind of hit on it earlier,
Yeah.
talking about changing up a routine.
And I would also say find a way to be in nature. I don't think we're outside enough. I don't think we've looked at a tree closely enough. Maybe and gardening, I know there's, a lot of women that will be getting into the dirt, but finding a way to be in nature and walking. Um, and but so any way to listen to the birds, be with nature. That's what I would say is a key thing. I actually have a math coaching position at a local school that I took a part-time teaching job because I couldn't not be around kids. Um, but I heard a sad thing today because there's spring break next week and these are 8th graders and I said, "Oh, you know, have a nice break. I hope you get outside." "Oh, no, 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 my mom doesn't let me go outside."
Yeah.
Whew, you know,
Incredible.
and I don't
Incredible.
know if that's true, but the idea of,
Summer
kids are
breaks,
gonna be
spring
looking forward
break,
to
they're meant to play.
sitting
Yeah,
on their
winter
computers
break.
and things. So being outdoors is a huge way to just to travel because your senses are going to be awakened. So that's what I would that's and whatever temperature, if it's raining, if it's sunny, if it's cold, just dress for the weather.
I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say, Melinda, when you think about it, being able to go outside, it's such a luxury for a lot of us. I'm thankful that the neighborhood that I live in affords me the safety and opportunity to just step outside, walk, and really not have any true worries. So
Mhm.
I would say, not all of us are in that particular type of situation, but when you think about it, what is one truth you wish that every woman or person would understand about themselves and their ability to experience joy,
Mm.
transformation, and connection? Like, what do you want them to, because I think we all have those stories sometimes that reaffirm what we want to
Yeah.
believe is true,
Yeah.
that maybe don't disrupt our routine, that keeps us sort of in that safe mode.
Yeah.
One thing that you wish they would know as a truth or to maybe challenge their mindset.
Sure. So I've been doing some meditation, and I actually am part of a meditation group that a woman is leading. And she always reminds us whenever we're sort of talking that we're up here. And she says, "Okay, stop, close your eyes, and feel your body." And I think that's one thing that's a huge for all of us is that we tend to be up here more than we're here.
Yeah.
So the with heart is really that idea. So if one closes one's eyes for a few minutes and feels what's happening and even asks the body, like, what would you like me to know? Or there's a lot of intelligence that we have in our body and the inner voice that we have that's kind of there encouraging something that maybe gets overlooked because this gets too loud.
Mhm.
So and that is, another invitation to slow down, but it's really closing one's eyes, pausing and breathing is one wish that I would think that would help the planet.
I like that, and each morning for the last, I don't know, maybe 6, 8 weeks, I've
Mm,
been incorporating 1 plank into my morning rituals,
nice.
stretching and so forth, and in that plank, whether it is 60 seconds, 75 seconds, whatever it happens to be,
Mhm,
as I wind down, I kinda look at my body and I look at the floor and I think how my body feels, my
mhm,
elbows, for instance, on the carpet, my knees, is it quivering? The tightening of the muscle groups as I'm looking and changing my feet so that I'm putting a little bit more tension on the body parts.
mhm.
I really am kind of like excited each morning to look forward to those planks where
Nice.
before it really wasn't something I wanted to do. I hated doing them, but now I view it differently. Isn't it funny how I stepped into this? So today's conversation really is a beautiful reminder.
It
It's
sounds like
about
you're being curious,
transformation.
Barbara. Yeah, it sounds like you're being curious, to notice what your
Yeah.
body's feeling. That's
Today's
great.
this transformation, it doesn't always come from doing more. We
Mhm,
think if we do more, that
mhm,
left brain, right
mhm,
brain thing that 360 women do, it comes from being more present in the moment, more open with self, you
mhm,
know, thinking through the heart, listening to your heart. What brings you that joy that you talked about a few minutes ago? Because you want to be more connected with yourself.
mhm,
And at Optimize Her too, our mission, again, we state this all the time. Really, it's true, is to continue educating, elevating, and empowering women. And today's conversation really reflects that. It brings that to the forefront of what we do here,
Oh, good.
Quincy and I, whether we're the two of us together or we have a speaker like yourself, Melinda, that come on board. And we greatly appreciate your spending the time to just break this down a little bit for us.
Well, I thank you. I thank you for this opportunity. I really enjoyed speaking with both of you and hope we can continue the conversation.
yeah, I think it'll
Good.
be great, but before we sign out, Melinda,
Mhm.
where can our audience, if they are interested, I think in the many projects that you are connected with and they're looking to level up their impact as they travel and become more intentional, how can they get in contact with you?
One of my websites, I have a couple. I'm putting them all into one, but With
Okay.
Heart Travel is probably the best place to go. There's also another one called Travel and Pickleball, but again, I'm sort of merging it. So Melinda at With Heart Travel, and I'm starting a With Heart walking experience, which will include some of the mentoring kinds of things. I have a Sisterhood of Pickleball community that's going to be tomorrow night. We have a first gathering. So, and then other trips that I'm doing, but that's it's all growing as well. So
Good.
hopefully you can
And that's
find
what
me.
we want that growth because you don't want to become stagnant as we go through the lifespan. Someone the other day says you're just born to die. Well, I guess you could look at it like that, but
Mhm,
also you're born to do as much as you can. You only have that short period of time, and you've just introduced a lot of different things that we can do to change our mindset
mhm,
and also slow down a little bit so
mhm.
we can be in the moment and
Yeah.
truly enjoy it with heart. Thank you so much again, Melinda. Always a pleasure, Quincy, for you and I to come together. And we look forward to seeing everyone again here on YouTube channel at Optimize Her Too. Stay well.